I don't know if you know this, but listen loud and clear. None of your content creators, your favorite ones, including me, are your friends.
Influencers don't care if you go broke.
These are my family.
We're in this together.
My fans truly understand me.
Hey guys, and welcome to today's video where we are going to be talking about the parasocial relationships that form between content creators and their viewers on websites like Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and any other place where people can grow a large following online. The concept of an influencer is not a modern one. It dates all the way back to like Roman times when gladiators would endorse products before their fights because they were kind of the celebrities of the time. But today we're going to be focusing on specifically on the parasocial relationships that form between content creators and their viewers. In the intro, the concept of an influencer is not anything new. Influencers have existed in many shapes and forms for a long time, but the growth of social media and especially platforms like YouTube and Twitch have created a generation with a lot more influencers than we have ever seen before. The rise of online celebrities and influencers happened because the general public suddenly had access to viewing the lives of pretty much anyone who had a social media account, and so people started to post things that they knew would interest others in order to grow a large following and in turn become an influencer. This happened mostly on YouTube to start with, then on Instagram and then Twitch as well, and the fact that normal people were amassing like hundreds of thousands of followers online started to blur the line between ordinary person and celebrity. Previously, the people that we looked up to, people appearing in like the press and in magazines, on TV, were these like ultra glamorous celebrities whose lives seemed so far detached from ours that they just didn't appear to be like normal human beings. Like, think Paris Hilton, her endless partying, her endless shopping, like people may have been in awe of her and jealous of her lifestyle, but in general no one looked at her and thought like she was someone you could realistically aspire to be like, because her lifestyle was so detached from that of an ordinary person. With online influencers, it was different. They were just like us. They are ordinary people filming videos or streaming or making content from their bedroom. They didn't have rich families or mansions or tons of money. They were just normal people who other people happened to like, and so they would grow large followings. Think like Jenna Marbles, for example. Her original videos was just her sat in her bedroom making like 2-minute long joke videos. There was little production that went into it. She wasn't known for anything else before this, but people liked her, and so she started to grow a subscriber base. This trend only continued and the number of influencers exponentially grew as social media became a bigger part of a larger number of people's lives, which in turn created a lot of parasocial relationships between these seemingly normal people and their audiences. So let's define a parasocial relationship. So parasocial relationships are one-sided relationships where one person extends emotional energy, interest and time, and the other party, the persona, is completely unaware of the other's existence. Like influencers, parasocial relationships are not a new concept. They've been around for as long as celebrities or well-known people have been around for. You could even look at things like the Bible and say that Jesus had a parasocial relationship with all of his followers because everyone knew him, but he didn't know any of them until they would turn up to him and ask him for help. Like, he didn't know about their existence, but they all looked up to him. Like, that is a parasocial relationship. Think about like a band or an artist that you have particularly liked. Maybe you knew a lot about them, maybe you followed them, or maybe an actor who you watched all of their movies and read all the articles about them in magazines. Those are parasocial relationships with those artists or celebrities or actors, because you know a lot about that person while that person knows nothing about you. Any fandom, for example, the Directioners, the Barbs, the Little Monsters, the Beehive, the Harmonizers, each of the fans within that fandom has a parasocial relationship with that artist of some degree because the artist knows nothing about them, whilst they know more about that artist than they would about any other ordinary person. When you are part of that fandom, you are committing energy to a relationship that you're forming with that artist through buying and listening to their music, going to their tours, watching their interviews, following them on social media, and all of these actions contribute to the parasocial relationship that you have with that artist. These parasocial relationships, however, do differ from the ones that occur between an online content creator and their viewers. When the person that you're admiring is a celebrity or an artist, they have this kind of aura about them of being in a different world. Like, you would never expect that person to read your tweets or your blogs or know that you exist. However, with online creators, it's slightly different. When a creator is posting YouTube videos or live streaming themselves on Twitch, what the viewer experiences is very different to what you experience in like the crowd at a concert, or when you watch a movie with your favourite actor in but you know that the character that they're playing is not real. Instead of being one person in a huge crowd or watching something through the lens of a fictional story, you're getting a one-on-one personal experience which seems as if the creator is directly addressing you. So if I look like directly down my camera lens right now, it feels as if I'm talking directly to you, but for me, I can't see you. I can't see your face, your expressions, I can't see where you are, and yet for you, it looks as if I'm looking directly at you when all I'm seeing is the live footage of myself in the camera. Like, what you as a viewer experience is very different to what them as a creator will see. To someone who is watching a video or a live stream, when it feels like the creator is talking directly to you, it makes you feel as if you're kind of hanging out with a friend, you know this person, and when in reality, all that they're seeing is their camera. So the viewer experiences a setting that's similar to like a catch up with an old friend, whereas the creator just feels like they're in a room with themselves. And that's what forms this kind of parasocial relationship, like the personal interaction that it feels like you're getting from that content creator, particularly on Twitch, where you can live chat and have that creator respond to you in real time. It feels like you're having a conversation with them when actually you are just one of many that they are just responding to the comments. They can't see the person behind that comment. The more that you watch a creator's content, the more that you get to know about them, the more that you find out about their lives, and the more it feels like they are a friend, because you're learning things about this person that you would only learn about someone that you were friends with. You see much more of their life than you would see of any other stranger's life, which contributes to this idea that this creator is like an estranged friend. And the fact that creators generally rise to fame because people like their personality is a big reason why these relationships form. Generally, you will enjoy watching someone who has a personality that you feel like you would want to be friends with someone with that personality in real life. If you like someone's channel, generally it's because you like them, and it's normally because they're the type of person that you would enjoy being around in real life. That's why parasocial relationships online are so different to ones that you have with mainstream celebrities. Celebrities are famous for their talent, YouTubers are famous for their personality, and you can enjoy someone's music but hate the way that they carry themselves in an interview. You can enjoy watching someone's film and dislike them as a person based on something that they've said to someone else. If you don't like someone's personality, you will not enjoy their content. Those things kind of go hand in hand, where if you don't like the person, you won't enjoy what they're putting out, whereas for celebrities, you can enjoy the product without enjoying the person. The entire premise of getting famous online by having a personality that viewers like, in turn strengthens the feeling of the content creator being a friend-like figure to the viewer. There's also the ease of meeting content creators. With celebrities, the chance of ever meeting your favourite celebrity is minuscule at best, unless you have like hundreds of pounds to spend on meet and greets to have like before concerts or before events. And even if you do, you'll literally get a photo and then you'll go into a crowd and become one of many people who are basically faceless individuals to that person. Whereas with YouTubers, there's so many more opportunities to meet them and interact with them. Things like VidCon, Summer in the City events that happen once a year, but also meetups and meet and greets that these creators will do, all give you a more personal interaction with them than you would get with a mainstream celebrity. Like, if you meet a celebrity, you know that they're preparing for a concert, they are just meeting you to make money. Whereas with a YouTuber who is attending this event and you're not paying to meet them, you're not paying to be around them, it feels more like you're meeting someone that you know than you're meeting a like massive celebrity. And also, because these meetups are so much more accessible than those with a celebrity, generally the YouTuber will have more time to chat than a celebrity would, because if you go somewhere like Summer in the City, there's going to be people there who are fans of a whole load of different YouTubers, so you're not always going to be waiting in like massive queues to meet this person because the event is not all about them. So they will have more time generally to kind of take a photo and like have a chat with you quickly before they then move on to the next person. This is not like as significant as other things, but I think it is worth noting because the accessibility of an interaction with a creator is important to becoming emotionally invested in that person and their content. When you're competing against like thousands of other fans just to get a like on Twitter from someone, you know that the chances of them noticing you even just once are slim. Whereas when you leave a comment on someone's video or you type something in their chat, the chance of them responding is much, much higher, and even the chance of getting a like from them on Twitter is increased than that of a normal celebrity, because their career is online, so they're spending a lot more time online reading things in their mentions or things that people are saying about them. And it kind of contributes to the feeling that if this person is liking your tweets or seeing you in their mentions all the time, that this is a person that you know and not just a stranger on the internet. Now, every online content creator will be aware of the fact that there is a parasocial relationship that exists between them and their viewers, because it's an inherent part of having an audience of people that you don't know. Some, however, whether unknowingly or knowingly, deepen that relationship in some of the things that they do. So, first example is creating a tight-knit community. Whilst all creators have a community, some communities differ from the majority because the creator gives them more unconscious cues to develop this relationship. So, an example of this is James Charles referring to all of his fans as his sisters. A sister is a close relative, so it unconsciously purports the idea that this person is someone who you have a close personal relationship with, when in reality, you do not, because James Charles does not have a close personal relationship with 25 million people. It may seem like a really minor thing, like, yeah, so what, he calls his fans sisters, loads of people have names for their fan bases, but when you factor in the one-on-one experience that each sister gets when they watch a James Charles video, they aren't thinking about the 25 million other sisters that there are, because in that scenario it feels like it's just them and their friend James. So having this affectionate nickname can contribute to deepening this parasocial relationship, and the same is true of the Ace family. They call their fans the Ace family, and it implies this close relationship that the fan feels when they watch the video, which in reality doesn't exist. Second example is manipulating the relationship to gain in some way, which that's where the creator will try to make the viewer deliberately feel like there's a relationship between them in order to gain something from them. So for this, I'm going to use Alfie Days as an example because I've already talked about him in depth doing this before. So firstly, I want to show you a clip of him revealing his book to the world. So some context, the book was half finished, basically half the pages were blank, and Alfie said that this was because he wanted to let his fans fill them in because he loves interacting with his fans.
And this is it. Okay? This here is called The Pointless Book. It is started by Alfie Days and finished by you.
So in this clip, he's explaining to the viewer that if they buy the book, it will be like they're interacting with him. And the reason he couldn't be bothered to fill half the pages in was because he loves to interact with his fans so much through them filling in the blanks rather than him having to do it himself. And that's just because he loves them so much. This plays into the parasocial relationship between him and his fan because he knows that these people feel like he's their friend, they like his content, they want to interact with him, and so he uses that desire for interaction as a way to make a product that is minimum effort, maximum reward. There is no interacting happening with this book because he will never see what you've written in that book. He will never know what you filled it in with, and him saying that it's an interaction, it's just incorrect because it's just you filling in a journal for your own personal enjoyment that he will never see or experience. Like, that's not an interaction. He does not get an interaction with a fan every time that they fill in that book. It just doesn't happen. And Alfie is not the only YouTuber that we've seen do this. Jake Paul's Edfluence scheme was sold as a way for Jake to give back to the fans that he loves so much, but actually it was just a scam so that he could make a quick buck off of their desire to be friends with him and just like him. Creators who leave their platform and then claim to come back because they missed you guys so much and they just love you so much. Actually, they just need to convince their fans to watch their new content so that they can carry on making money. Most of the time, YouTubers are not trying to exploit this relationship. Sometimes they say or do things that they don't even realise are subtly convincing the viewer that this relationship exists, but these are some of the examples of where people have knowingly exploited that relationship for their own personal gain. Now, I think that just the basic definition and the concept of how a parasocial relationship forms can make it seem like the mere existence of this type of relationship is a negative thing. However, that's not necessarily true. A lot of people talk about how a celebrity or an influencer like saved their life or gave them a safe space, which happens because of this closeness that you feel to that person, because watching them and their content gives you comfort, gives you a kind of place to escape from the real world. And having this relationship where you feel comforted by a person's content and interaction with them without having to put any effort in to maintain an actual real relationship can feel like a great breathing space from the pressures of real world relationships. It can provide an escape from anything unpleasant that might be going on in your real life, because it's like seeing a friend who knows nothing about your problems and so they will never bring them up. Like if I sit down and I've had a bad day and I decide that I'm going to watch a video from someone, they are never going to be talking about what is going on in my life and like the problems I'm having right now. So it's kind of like you can detach yourself from those real life problems when you watch that person, and you feel comforted by the fact that you can just detach from whatever stresses are going on in your life. So these relationships, they can be positive, but they can also be negative for both the fan and the creator, particularly when things like celebrity crushes form, because with a normal celebrity, like, that celebrity is never going to meet you, they're never going to know who you are, but it can be particularly uncomfortable for online creators who then meet these people who have this kind of lust for them when they don't even know who they are, and like this person knows everything about them, but they have no idea who that person is. And that fan knows that this is not a real relationship, but because of how much they know about that person, they kind of develop these feelings that then make things really awkward if they ever do happen to meet this person, which is more likely than it would be with a normal celebrity. But that is just kind of one minor example. That doesn't happen a lot, but it can be uncomfortable, particularly for female creators on places like Twitch who have like a big male audience. Sometimes it can be a bit weird and it can make them feel a bit uncomfortable.
Influencers don't care if you go broke. Maybe this is obvious, maybe it isn't, but in the era of parasocial relationships and mass media, I think it's important to remind ourselves how little influencers and celebrities truly care about our financial futures. This has been on my mind a lot lately with the recent FTX collapse and the way that so many influencers were profiting from promoting the company through referral codes and sponsorships. If you don't know already, FTX is a crypto exchange company that was once valued at $32 billion with a B, but more recently it's filed for bankruptcy.
On the 11th, Bankman-Fried resigned as CEO, and FTX and Alameda filed for bankruptcy. More than $370 million worth of crypto funds appeared to be missing, according to crypto analytics firm Elliptic.
These days, there are a lot of allegations of fraud and severe mismanagement swirling around FTX and its former CEO, and the worst of all is that there are so many people who put money into FTX who are looking at the very real possibility of never seeing their money again.
I lost all of my money in FTX. You're such an idiot. Don't be like me.
The Guardian did an article interviewing several of these investors, and they described how they've been unable to withdraw any funds from FTX ever since the collapse. These folks often had thousands tucked away, and just like that, it's likely gone forever. That money represents so many hours worked, so many nights eating in instead of dining out to save money, so many plans for future homes and retirement plans just vanishing. It's incredibly frustrating and awful to see. To me, one of the most frustrating parts of this all was how many people were lured into FTX because of the many flashy advertisements they had with influencers and celebrities.
I don't think so.
Tom Brady, Steph Curry, Gisele Bündchen, Larry David, and so many other traditional celebrities were all involved in these huge FTX campaigns, like the multi-million-dollar Super Bowl commercial that premiered earlier this year. Even Kevin O'Leary, aka Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, got wrapped up into this FTX advertising.
I feel very comfortable endorsing this product for what it provides as a service, and how it can help someone like me.
Not so Mr. Wonderful now. But those weren't the only folks who are pushing FTX to their audiences. A lot of influencers, especially financial influencers like here on YouTube, were also pushing FTX. Meet Kevin, Andre Geek, and Graham Stephan are just a few, but there were so many other financial influencers who were using referral codes and sponsorships to try to convert their audience to using FTX. Now, I'm not saying that any of these folks were intentionally trying to scam their audience or make their audience lose money. This video isn't to villainize these influencers and celebrities who are pushing FTX, or even to really be really a takedown on influencer culture. Personally, the FTX situation strikes me as one where the CEO and his inner circle were committing fraud, but the investors and the endorsers didn't necessarily know about that. I mean, you have giant investment companies like BlackRock who were involved, and that gave it this sense of legitimacy. The CEO had been on the Forbes cover, which, granted, they don't have a great track record, but it lended this feeling of, oh, we can trust this. Now, do I believe the influencers and celebrities' apologies as they try to explain themselves? They still pushed an offshore company in an unregulated market with highly volatile risk assets. So yes, I think there's something valid about saying, oh, well, I didn't know there was fraud going on. At the same time, there's the reality of these people pushed an incredibly speculative space with very few disclaimers, or just not enough. And I think they owe it to their audiences now to not only be incredibly apologetic, but also incredibly transparent about how these deals happen, and really think about the deals that they promote in the future and how they can affect their audience. But who am I kidding? If there's money to be made, these influencers are gonna eat it up. It'll keep happening. It just is. Before it was this, it was the crypto pump and dump schemes that we saw the likes of Kim Kardashian and Logan Paul do. Before that, we had Dr. Oz pushing a multi-level marketing scheme for supplements. And at any given moment, you can find an obscene number of unnecessary products being pushed down our throats by TikTok stars, Instagram stars, YouTubers, movie stars, pop singers. By the way, I'm gonna just use influencer as the catch-all term for all those folks. So from here on out, I'm just gonna say influencer. Anyways, we need to accept the fact that these folks aren't looking out for us, and they never will, nor should we expect them to, because at the end of the day, our financial futures are going to matter the most to us, which is why we need to focus on our own decision making. And that's done by taking care of our financial health, which is more than just learning the rules of money management, like what is a 401k and why is dollar cost averaging useful. Those are certainly important, but I also think there's this whole other level that we often forget about when talking about financial education, and that's our emotional side of things. Because our relationship with money is ultimately a very emotional relationship, and the way that we have grown up thinking about money influences it, but also the world around us, and learning to navigate those influences, whether it's celebrities and influencers talking to us or commercials or whatever else, learning to navigate that is really important to our financial health. So in this video, I want to dive into how influencers leverage their relationship with you to make money, and why it's so important to prioritize your financial health above all else. I'd start with the heart of this issue, which is parasocial relationships. If you've been on the internet long enough, you've definitely heard the phrase parasocial relationship before, and even if you haven't, you've definitely seen it at play. It's the reason so many people feel like they know the truth about Harry Styles' relationships, why they're so invested in the lives of BTS, or why they feel like Emma Chamberlain could be their bestie. Influencers of all shapes and sizes often play into parasocial relationships because it helps strengthen the connection their fans have to them. Take your favorite celebrity and look closely, and you'll probably see the different ways that they manufacture a level of intimacy. This BTS music video that makes it feel like you're on FaceTime. But I even see this kind of leaning into the parasocial relationship with the type of phrases that influencers use.
You guys are my family.
We're in this together.
My fans truly understand me.
I'd argue that Taylor Swift is the master of leaning into the parasocial relationship, and that's not to say that she doesn't appreciate her fans and that she's not thankful for it all, but I also suspect that she understands the importance of cultivating a really special feeling connection for fans, and how that ultimately is going to boost her sales. These parasocial relationships are great for the rise and longevity of an influencer's career because it builds a loyal fan base, and it simultaneously builds a foundation of trust that can later be leveraged for monetization. The more you trust an influencer, the more likely you'll spend money at their recommendation, whether it's for movie tickets, merch, music, or even crypto exchanges.
No, the prices were not fair for the Eras tour. Look at this for Chicago. I wish I was joking. I wish I was joking. This little ticket gauger would not go lower than what is that, $500? And then if you look on the left hand side all the way over there, per ticket, $50,000. $6,000. That's a whole salary.
A lot of people were frustrated with Taylor's decision to go with dynamic pricing because they felt like she was putting profit over people, with one prevailing theory being that Taylor is trying to beat the world record for ticket tour sales. And I totally get the frustration, but at the same time, I think it's interesting to ask where that frustration is coming from. Because every year you have Duke UNC basketball games where the tickets become tens of thousands of dollars, but you don't see anywhere near the backlash that you're seeing with Taylor's concert prices. I think we saw such a potent outrage from Taylor's fan base because the parasocial relationship she's cultivated is so strong. People feel like they know Taylor, like they could be her friend, and she always has their best interests at heart, even financial ones. But at the end of the day, Taylor Swift, as in lights on a billboard, face across a million screens Taylor Swift, is a brand. It's a business like any other. And that's why it's imperative for us as consumers to look beyond the parasocial relationships when we're being advertised to. I think we tend to put influencers on a pedestal and we make them these unofficial deities that we assign narratives to, whether that's in the form of inspiration or relatability or some belief of expertise. And because of our parasocial relationships with these influencers, we lend them a level of credibility. And that makes us vulnerable to being sold things that might not ultimately be best for us. It can be why it's so easy to fall into these sales pitches is because they play perfectly into the dream that was fabricated for ourselves by media and advertisements. Add in the trust and aspirational elements that you have from parasocial relationships with influencers, and you have a recipe for spending money very poorly. One of the reasons I find personal finance endlessly fascinating is how human it is. Personal finance is emotional. People think it's just facts and figures, but if that was the case, we would see so many more people not in credit card debt, so many more people with fully funded retirement accounts, because the information is out there. You have the world of knowledge free at your fingertips if you want it. But that's not what makes or breaks personal finance. It's the emotions behind your relationship with money, which is why it's important to consider the way that these stories that were sold are actively hijacking that relationship. If we can all step back and identify the stories that we're being told and how influencers are trying to shape our money habits, then I think we'll all end up in better financial places. Because these influencers selling us these stories, they don't care if we never contribute to our retirement accounts or if we swallow ourselves in debt buying their products. They don't care. So we have to look out for ourselves and our own financial health. The questions I often ask myself are, what is motivating someone to do this? And who is making money if I choose to act a certain way? This extends to so many different things, and yes, influencers are one of them. I like to question why an influencer wants me to think a certain thing, or buy into a certain product, or act a certain way. How does it ultimately benefit them? And I do think there are times that influencers are doing things for altruistic purposes, but then the question becomes, what ways and values are they defining their altruism by? And does that align with what values I have for defining altruism? Because perhaps their version of a better world is not the same as mine. Even this extends beyond influencers too. Think about something like Facebook, and you might question why so much misinformation is spread on there and why so many arguments happen on there. And through that questioning, you might come to this conclusion that the more that Facebook's content can provoke me, the more engaged I'll be, and therefore the more money Facebook will ultimately make. I'm not all the money. Figure out if they could profit by you going broke doing whatever it is that they're recommending. The other important thing I think we could all use some more of is just learning more about personal finance, learning to be more frugal, learning to manage our money, learning to invest responsibly and secure ourselves financially. Remember to always do your own research and look out for yourself, because influencers certainly won't.